Imagine this. It's December 2nd, 1993. Somewhere in the middle-class barrio of Los Olivos in Medellin, Colombia, the most wanted man on the planet woke up in a good mood. He had just turned 44 years old. He had cake, he had wine, he had marijuana. And for one brief, glorious moment, Pablo Escobar, the man who had bombed planes, bribed presidents, and terrorized an entire nation, thought he was untouchable. He was wrong. Dead wrong. Literally. This is the final 24 hours of Pablo Escobar's life. Reconstructed hour by hour, the birthday that became a death warrant, the phone calls that lit up a target on his back, the bodyguards who scrambled as the walls closed in, and the rooftop chase that ended the most dangerous criminal career in modern history. Buckle up. Because this countdown only goes one way. On December 1st, 1993, Escobar celebrated his 44th birthday. And here is where the story gets almost poetic in its irony. While Colombian authorities were triangulating his signal, closing a net that had been drawing tight for 16 months, Escobar was doing the one thing a fugitive should never do: being human. The phone calls to his family on December 1st were warm and unguarded. He spoke longer than was safe. He sang. That's right. The man who ran a cartel worth billions, who had judges assassinated and police officers killed for sport, he got caught because he could not resist singing happy birthday to his own kids over the phone. The most dangerous man in the world, undone by fatherly love. You genuinely cannot write this stuff. Now, to understand why this particular birthday call was so catastrophic, we need to rewind and understand the machine that had been hunting him. The Search Bloc, a task force made up of Colombian National Police dedicated to locating and taking down Escobar, had been looking for the drug lord for 16 months, ever since he escaped from La Catedral prison. This was not some underfunded local police unit with a map and a prayer. Colombia's elite Search Bloc had the support of the DEA, Delta Force, and Navy SEALs. And leading the charge was Colonel Hugo Martinez Sr., a career officer with an extremely personal score to settle. Why personal? Because Escobar had intercepted police radio frequencies and broadcast taunts, directed at Colonel Martinez by name, calling him incompetent, mocking the unit's failures, threatening his family. That is a level of audacity that makes you respect the man's confidence, even as you recognize it was absolutely his downfall. But here is the real secret weapon inside the Search Bloc. Embedded with the unit was Colonel Martinez's son, Hugo Martinez Jr., a young signals lieutenant whose job was to sit for hours inside surveillance vans, headphones on, tracking the direction and distance of Escobar's radio transmissions. He became immediately skilled in radio triangulation, and it was he who located Pablo Escobar in December 1993. So the son of the man Escobar mocked by name, that's who found him. History has a sense of humor, and it is vicious. Now here's the critical technical detail that sealed Escobar's fate. The government used Escobar's constant concern for his family as bait to locate him with French and British technology acquired with the help of the DEA, which not only identified the calls, but also triangulated his location. And Escobar knew he could not spend more than 2 minutes making a call. He had rules. He had protocols. He was disciplined, right up until the moment he wasn't. 10 minutes before his death, Escobar was talking with his son on the telephone. His son later said his father broke his own rule by staying on the telephone too long, which allowed authorities to trace the location of the call. 10 minutes. That's all it cost him. 10 minutes of a father talking to his kid, and the clock on Pablo Escobar's life started ticking down to 0. So here's a question for you, and this one is genuinely worth thinking about. If you were in Escobar's position, hunted by an entire government and a coalition of international forces, would you have broken your own 2-minute rule to talk to your family? Comment your answer below. Because that decision, that one human moment, is the hinge that the entire story turns on. Now let's get to the morning of December 2nd and watch it all fall apart in real time. On the morning of December 2nd, 1993, Pablo Escobar woke up in a nondescript house on a quiet street in Los Olivos, a middle-class Medellin suburb of peeling paint and tiled rooftops. Think about that for a second. The myth ends fast here. Not in a palace, not in a jungle fortress, not in a marble mansion, in a normal neighborhood. The man who once owned a private zoo, who had hippos on his estate, who had so much cash he had to bury it in walls and fields, he was hiding in the kind of house you'd find on any street in any city in the world. That is what 16 months on the run does to an empire. Escobar had survived for months by hiding, moving between safe houses, and limiting his phone use. But communication was also his weakness. He wanted to speak with his family, especially his son, and those calls became part of the hunt. And by the morning of December 2nd, signal intelligence teams embedded with the Search Bloc, using direction-finding equipment to triangulate his radio calls, had their answer by morning. By midday, the Search Bloc, Colombia's elite hunter-killer police unit, had narrowed his location to a single residential block in Los Olivos. Officers were moving into position. Picture the scene inside that nondescript house. Escobar and his bodyguard, Álvaro de Jesus Agudelo, known as El Limón, were virtually hiding in plain sight. A cartel king and his driver holed up in a suburb, the empire stripped down to 2 men and a phone that had already betrayed them. They might have thought the police would never expect them to lay low in Escobar's own hometown area. Bold strategy, terrible outcome. And then, the moment everything accelerated. A Colombian electronic surveillance team intercepted a call coming from a middle-class barrio in Medellin. The force immediately knew it was Escobar, as the call had been made to his son, Juan Pablo Escobar. And it seemed that Escobar knew they were onto him, as the call was cut short. Can you imagine being on that phone call? You're a 16-year-old kid talking to your dad, and then mid-sentence, silence. Because somewhere across Medellin, your father just realized the net had closed. That silence on the line was the last conversation they ever had. Using radio triangulation technology, Colombian special forces located Escobar after the cellular phone call was placed to his son. Within minutes, forces mobilized on the ground. Colonel Martinez gave the green light. Vehicles moved. Escobar was found in a house in the Los Olivos neighborhood, a middle-class residential area of Medellin, by Colombian special forces using technology provided by the United States. The most wanted man in the world was cornered in the most ordinary setting imaginable. Police tried to arrest Escobar, but the situation quickly escalated to an exchange of gunfire. And here is where Pablo Escobar showed, one final time, that he was not going quietly. As members of the Search Bloc surrounded the home, Escobar tried to escape. He and one of his bodyguards attempted to crawl out of the back window of the home and make a run for it across the rooftop, barefoot, across terracotta tiles. The man who once commanded an army of sicarios, who had a net worth that Forbes magazine tracked as a billionaire for years, running barefoot across a suburban rooftop like his life depended on it. Because it did. With authorities closing in, a firefight with Escobar and his bodyguard El Limón ensued. The 2 fugitives attempted to escape by running across the roofs of adjoining houses to reach a back street. But both were shot and killed by Colombian National Police. Escobar was shot and killed while trying to escape from the roof, along with El Limon, who was also shot. He was hit by bullets in the torso and feet, and a bullet which struck him in the head, killing him. And then came the detail that has fueled debate ever since. While the official account states that members of the Colombian National Police's Search Bloc shot him down during a rooftop chase, controversy still surrounds his final moments, with his family claiming he committed suicide using his signature execution method, a single shot through the ear to avoid capture. Juan Pablo Escobar believes the DEA shot his father in the leg and shoulder before Escobar turned the gun on himself. The Search Bloc says they got him. His own family says he chose his exit. The nature of the shooting sparked multiple conspiracy theories as to who actually killed Escobar. Decades later, nobody fully agrees, and that ambiguity is somehow perfectly fitting for a man whose entire life was a contradiction. The famous image of Colombian forces standing over Escobar's body on the red-tiled roof became the final photograph of the Medellin Cartel's most feared figure. When the Search Bloc finally moved on Los Olivos, the officers involved were not simply executing a police operation. They were collecting a debt. 16 months, hundreds of officers killed, a nation held hostage. And it ended on a Tuesday afternoon, on a rooftop in a middle-class suburb, because a man loved his family too much to stay off the phone. Escobar's death accelerated the demise of the Medellin Cartel and Colombia's central role in the cocaine trade. Despite leading a cartel, he was revered by locals, and many attended his funeral. In total, more than 25,000 people attended. The man terrorized a country, and the country still showed up to say goodbye. That is the paradox of Pablo Escobar, a monster, a myth, and a father who just wanted to sing to his kids on his birthday. The final 24 hours of Pablo Escobar's life were not the climax of a Hollywood thriller. They were something far more strange and human. A birthday, a phone call, a broken rule, and a barefoot run across the rooftops of the city where he was born. The most powerful criminal of the 20th century was not brought down by military might alone. He was brought down by love. And that somehow is the most Pablo Escobar ending imaginable. If this countdown kept you on the edge of your seat, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we go this deep on every single video. The full story of the Search Bloc, the rise and fall of the Medellin Cartel, and the men and women who risked everything to end it. It's all here, and we are just getting started. See you in the next one.